everyone, this is Pick for Life. In today's P4L review, we'll be taking a look at the Bandai SH Figuarts Tamashii Nations Bruce Lee figure. And bottom line up front, this figure is amazingly realistic and detailed. I was blown away by the pictures I first saw when these promo images came out. And even though I don't collect a lot of SH Figuarts lines, I knew I had to have the legend himself. So let's go ahead and get started with packaging review. And as you can see, a very different take on the SH Figuarts packaging. You have a nice picture of Bruce Lee on the front here. You get a small window that shows off the figure itself and a couple of faces. It does have a cool Bruce Lee, I think this is the official Bruce Lee logo here. And I think that's from the Big Boss, yeah. Up here, same kind of deal. Here, Bruce Lee. It also has the figure kind of silhouette using the nunchucks. On the side as well. On the bottom, really nothing of interest. And on the back, we get a lot of promo images. So we get him again with the nunchucks, with his staff, with his two batons, and then him doing some different poses and showing off some of the faces. So you get, in addition to the installed face, you get 3 additional faces, 2 of which are pretty much the same. So yeah, that's really it for the exterior packaging, but it's really nice in the yellow and black deco, which is reminiscent of the Game of Death outfit that he's also made famous. Alright, so let's get this guy out of packaging. So, out of the packaging, he comes with a ton of different accessories, sets of hands, sets of faces, and some weapons. Real quickly, we'll just go over his manual real quick. Just Bruce Lee operational manual. You can see the entire set of interchangeable hands that he has, as well as some instructions on the face. These drawings of his expressions on his face are pretty hilarious. So, the weapons are the short cudgel, the long cudgel, the nunchucks, and it does have a warning that this chain is delicate on the nunchucks just because, you know, they're small. They're kind of the things that you might get from a super cheap dollar store, a necklace or something like that. So yeah, so he gets all of that. He has, besides the balled up fist that he comes standard with, he has these here which we'll go into, which are the weapons hands, kind of the open palm hands, the stylized martial arts pose hands, which he's famous for, and kind of a open claw kind of hand. And then he has a little thumbs up hand. I love that one. We'll go into these in detail later. But he also has 3 sets of additional faces. These 2, as I mentioned, are pretty much the same. Here, let's zoom in a bit so you can actually see them. And they both have kind of the same expression with his lips kind of pursed. The only difference really being his eyes are pointed to the right, his right, on that one. And then he has a crazy face Bruce Lee, which is wide-eyed but very iconic. If you look at it from the bottom, it really looks super creepy with his haircut. So yeah, let's get all these out the way and we'll deal with them in a little bit. The weapons, very quickly, we have the nunchucks. Again, these really thin links here, but I mean they're not going to break on you just by messing with them, but you know, don't go crazy with them or you're going to be in trouble. Here we go. These are just, you know, basically they're just small cylindrical pieces that were cut, and this is just kind of a long cylindrical piece. Come on, there we go. Pretty thin, very flexible. Just be careful with those. But yeah, let's get to the figure review itself. And this guy just looks absolutely phenomenal. I gotta say, I'm really impressed at how realistic this sculpt is. From just the body type, and I will go into that right now, but the facial expression that he has here, the body sculpt, he's not super jacked up, and it's ultra realistic. So unlike the Figma Bruce Lee figure that's also out, this one is ultra realistic. It's not stylized or kind of, I don't know, it's not animated. It's supposed to be super realistic. And they apparently they have some kind of technology that they're using that allows them to capture photorealistic facial expressions and transfer them to a 3D figure like this, and whatever they're doing, they just really knocked it out of the park. This is amazing. So one of the things I wanted to point out and how realistically detailed this is that you can actually see, if you look up close, individual musculature here, but also veins. So you can see veins in his forearms, which might be hard to see. Here, let me scoot up a bit. So you can actually see veins in his forearms, which is really, really cool. Another thing that I noticed is that even though Bruce Lee's, always been iconic and a physical specimen, I mean, he had an amazing workout regimen, but even he didn't have perfectly sculpted abs that were super symmetrical, and they even went through the detail of actually sculpting his realistic abs the way that they're shaped. So if you look at pictures of Bruce Lee, his abs are not perfectly symmetrical, and they actually captured that here. Really, really amazing stuff. Coming around to the back, you have some details on the back muscles here. Oh, I mean, this is just phenomenally done. Like, I can't believe how well that they captured just the muscle and molding of this realistic Bruce Lee figure. And now going into this stock standard face, it looks really nice. Again, just from all angles, it just captures on the profile. Like, every angle I look at him, he looks really, really amazing. Just from the front view, I feel like his brown eyes should be a little bit darker, but that's a very small nitpick. And his hair is amazingly sculpted. On first observation, I didn't even realize, I thought they were providing a new head, but there's actually a small seam, but the seam itself is just so razor thin that you can barely see it, and really unnoticeable compared to some of the other SH Figuarts figures that I've had in the past. The pants themselves have some folds and creases, and this is the iconic look that he has from Enter the Dragon, both in terms of the weapons and the facial expressions. Those are all like kind of Enter the Dragon. So are these pants, and his shoes and his socks and everything like that. They did a really good job with this as well, and we'll go into a little bit more detail about that once we get into articulation, which we'll get into right now. So the head is on a double ball peg, and then his neck, which gives him a good amount of looking down and a good amount of looking up. I mean, I don't think he's going to really need that much more than that, and he has a good amount of side to side to get some expressions like that. Very nice. The flesh tones, as you can see, are really, really well done. His shoulders here are a little bit different than what I'm used to with Figuarts figures. It looks like this inner shoulder piece should be like some others where you can move that around itself, but it actually just goes forward and back. So it doesn't seem to go, or at least on mine, doesn't seem to go up and down. So yeah, his shoulders can move up this way, and he can go around, obviously. He does have a shoulder swivel, which can go all the way around. He does have double jointed elbows, but really only one is particularly necessary, like this bottom elbow joint I think is sufficient. But if you want, you can go ahead and use that second elbow joint to make it look very weird, like he has an extra joint in there, obviously. This is also not painted, but not too bad. It's pretty well hidden. I would definitely like that though. And his fists are on, it's just a peg, but it's a ball joint in here, so you still get a lot of range of motion, and that's obviously how you switch out the fist, and we'll go into that in a little bit. Coming to the main body, he does have the kind of torso crunch here. You can go back pretty far and only a slight amount of gap, which is great. Some other figures I've had in the past have a lot of gap. Going around to the back, he doesn't have any gap at all. Now coming down to the waist, which is, it just seems like a double ball peg. It doesn't seem to extend like some of the other figures at all. But you have a very slight gap here, not a big deal. More of a gap when you lean him back like that, but I'm not sure you're ever going to really want to lean him back that far. His waist is actually a very soft rubber, like the clothes that you find on, Dragon Ball and so forth, and that does a good job of, covering any kind of gaps or seams. The waist here, or the hips, are very different than what I'm used to. They're not on double ball pegs at all. They're just on a swivel here and a swivel out. And it almost looks like a real thigh joint in here. So you don't have like the double ball peg where you can slide it down to get some extra hip articulation to get higher kicks, which is kind of a bummer since he's a martial artist. You expect him to get, you know, more range than this. So I kind of wish he did have that, but that may have broken up the sculpt too much and made it look a little unrealistic if they did that. Going out to the side though, he does get, you know, a lot of range there, so not too bad there. It's just that going up forward, you're gonna have a little bit of interference and lack of articulation there. He does have a swivel though at the upper thigh, and then his knees, he has a single knee joint, it looks like, which doesn't look too bad. And then coming down to the foot, he has a, I believe, just a ball jointed or maybe a double ball peg. Can't really tell. In any case, he gets a ball jointed ankle. And then the toe articulation is kind of standard SH Figuarts toe, which does kind of look weird, but not too bad. Even the bottom of his feet are actually molded like realistic shoes that has the pattern and so forth. So very cool that they did that. So yeah, that's really it for his articulation, I think. I think I went through that. And his waist as well. So he doesn't get a lot of side to side on the torso, but still a decent amount. Gets probably about 40 degrees or so. So yeah, overall, I am really, really impressed at how realistic this looks. I can't imagine you not wanting this. If you like the Figma one, I can't imagine you not wanting this one, because this one's just so realistic. The only downside of the head that I noticed is that while the hair is really immaculately sculpted, they actually stop the molding around the forehead, and then they paint past the molding itself, so it looks like he just has paint directly on his forehead there, as opposed to just the sculpted areas. It's very slight and not too noticeable, but it's one of the things that I noticed off the bat. Alright, so yeah, the face replacement is pretty easy. You just go ahead and pull the front of the face off, and this is just nightmare fuel here. I mean, that just looks crazy. But a very basic 2 pegs and that tab here. Oh, actually 3 pegs, because that hole there. Just pull that off. I'll show off the various faces. So this is his like pursed lips, one with his eyes looking to the right, his right. And I think this is a good face sculpt for this expression. The other one that I said was pretty identical is this basically the same. I think it might be the exact same sculpt with just the eyes painted looking forward. This one I think is going to be the one I use the least. And then the last one is his crazy eyes one. And again, this is really well done. You can actually see inside his mouth, and I don't know if it's painted or if it's sculpted, but it's actually pink in there, so it's a different color than the rest. And then his teeth are also molded and painted white, or an off-white actually. But yeah, I could see a lot of memes being generated from this figure, just from this face. Alright, so let's go ahead and get into the other hands. And then we'll get into the weapons as well. So I'm not going to put all the hands on, but I want to give you an idea of what all the hands look like. So this is the set that is kind of the martial artsy pose that he's kind of iconic for, almost like the Hang Ten style on the one hand. So let's go ahead and get that done. Again, just pulling off straight on this peg. Get the left hand in. Just be careful because they are super tiny pegs. So this face doesn't really go with with these hands, but you can get some very, very cool posing from him. He's very stable, especially with his feet. So yeah. The other hands that he comes with are these open hands, like the open karate chop hand, and this kind of splayed hand set. And the one that I like is his thumbs up one, which I think goes really well with his just kind of stoic face. And, you know, Bruce Lee's always kind of had that air of confidence. So this is kind of like where he's brushing his nose with his thumb. That's the vision I have when I see this set. And then lastly, we'll go ahead and get these off and get the weapons hands on. So this is the only set of hands that work with the weapons, and I think he also used nunchucks in the Chinese Connection or Fist of Fury, which, depending on whether you're in the West or East, which is confusing because Fist of Fury was the name of his big boss movie in the East or in the West. So yeah, you can hold these really well. You can do his kind of iconic pose like that, which looks really nice. And the cudgels, which he used in Enter the Dragon, the prison scene as well. I feel like these might be a little long, but honestly I'm not sure. This just looks phenomenal. I can't get over how realistic this looks. And then lastly, the staff, or the long cudgel as they call it in the instructions. This one is a little bit more difficult to get in just because it's so long. I guess you can put the hands in first. But obviously the scene in the prison where he swings it and you hear the end go do-do-do-do-do-do, very iconic. And I believe Jackie Chan said that he was a stuntman in Enter the Dragon, as well as I think the Chinese Connection. And he was saying that he actually got hit in the face by Bruce Lee by accident while filming one of his early roles. So it would be very cool, honestly, if they continue this series of ultra realistic martial artists with Jackie Chan, or even additional costumes for Bruce Lee, like I said, the Game of Death yellow and black jumpsuit is super iconic for Bruce Lee. Obviously, the full kind of traditional Chinese clothing that he wears in the Chinese Connection and the Big Boss and the Way of the Dragon when he fights Chuck Norris. I mean, all that. I mean, I would have a ton of Bruce Lee figures if they had one for every outfit that was iconic to him. So as far as height, he's about 5.5 inches tall, which is pretty standard, I think, for the Figuarts line. Just to give you some idea of comparison, here he is with SH Figuarts Goku, or Super Saiyan Goku. And now I'm going to be the one to start the meme about who would win in a fight between Goku and Bruce Lee, because obviously we already know who would win in a fight between Goku and Superman, so now it's time for Bruce Lee to take center stage against Goku. And like I said, you can see just how different it is. Because it's realistic, he doesn't have super bulky proportions in his elbows, and I mean not his elbows, in his arms, and even his body. I mean, just a super slender but ultra fit Bruce Lee figure. You know, the proportions are really good. His head isn't too big for his body or too small. But yeah, it just looks really, really good. I'm super happy with this figure, and I'm really looking forward to more. So my final thoughts on the SH Figuarts Bruce Lee is that, if you can tell, I've been super ecstatic throughout this entire review, and it's just because it is amazing how well that they pulled this figure off, and they've really done justice to both Bruce Lee, the icon, who really has spanned generations with his fame and his legacy, but also the tribute to Enter the Dragon in this particular deco and costume that really is the movie that garnered his international fame, especially during a time when it was very difficult, obviously, for minorities to have such renowned fame here in the West. But yeah, I can't imagine really a figure being that much better than this, honestly, in terms of just overall capturing the real image of the dragon himself. And I really hope that they come out with more of these figures with the different decos and costumes, and then also carry this, you know, this technology on, whatever they ended up doing, to bring out some other martial arts legends like Jackie Chan. Like I love Jackie Chan. I think everyone loved Jackie Chan, and you kind of think Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan when you think that, you know, most famous martial artists in terms of movies, action movies, and so forth. So it'd be great to have them standing side by side on my shelf, as well as some other martial arts greats. You know, I'd love to have, you know, Donnie Yen or Sammo Hung, or, you know, even Jean-Claude Van Damme. I mean, they're all very iconic. But yeah, Bruce Lee, this SH Figuarts figure definitely does a very good job of homaging, and it really does justice to the character in the movie, as well as Bruce Lee, the icon himself. I'm really hoping that you guys pick this guy up, because it really is an amazing figure, and my favorite of the SH Figuarts line so far. And yeah, as far as the, you know, just the overall look, he looks as realistic as a statue, but with the posability that you really want out of figures. Like I don't buy statues because I like messing with my figures, and this guy, you know, hits all the marks with that respect. So if you have any comments or questions, or if you think I left something out of the review, go ahead and leave them in the comment section below, as always. If you like the review and you'd like to support my channel, go ahead and click like, share, and subscribe. That'd always be great. And if you want to add him to your collection, you can always click on the Toy Dojo link in the description below and add him to your cart. Alright, that's all for today, everyone. Hope you have a good one. Overly attached Bruce Lee wants you to buy him, so he can be with you forever.